poppin', y'all? It is your boy Gardi3, and welcome to Coffee and Sports, the morning show. And of course, joining us just like every morning, he is Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
Hey, good morning, Brett. Good morning, chat. Welcome.
No, absolutely. So yeah, of course, we're here to bring you some NBA and NFL news. And Mo, I know we got one tonight, but I figure why not start with the NBA? I don't know if you saw this, but the Ringer, they came out with their top 25 players list for the upcoming season. So I was going to read it out to you, and I'm kind of curious. I wanted to get your take on it.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. So according to the Ringer's top 25 players in the NBA, at 25 they have Jimmy Butler. 24, they got James Harden. 23, they got Chet Holmgren. We had Al Prince Sengun at 22, Pascal at 21, and Jaylen Brown at 20. In fact, why don't we stop there? What do you think of those first five names rounding out the top 25 through 21?
Somebody definitely made some decisions. I like Sengun, and I think that you can see him progressing, and I think when it's all said and done, he'll eventually be no worse than the second best big man in the NBA. But he's not there yet. I don't think his ranking is bad. I do find it interesting that Jimmy Butler is ranked where he is, but Jaylen Brown is ranked a few places ahead of him. I would say that their skill sets are similar in that if they're both 100% healthy, and I put that out there obviously because Jimmy's almost 10 years older and more wear and tear on his body, but I would say that Jimmy Butler, I don't think you would disagree, when fully healthy is better than Jaylen Brown. And I like Jaylen Brown, but I think Jimmy Butler is better than Jaylen Brown.
Oh, yeah. No, when he's fully healthy and playing, I absolutely agree that he's better than Jaylen Brown.
And that's not a knock because I'm a huge Jaylen Brown fan, but I'm just saying I don't think that they started off bad that first five, but I would have the order differently.
Oh, fair enough. Say 19 through 15, they got Banchero, Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, Evan Mobley, and J-Dub.
I would have Paolo ahead of all of them. I would. Even Evan Mobley, who's a terrific two-way player. But Evan Mobley, as an offensive player, isn't really, even though he's improved, he's nowhere near the offensive player that Paolo is. He's not. And so I guess your argument could be, well, he's a better two-way player. He might be. I'm not going to argue that. But I don't know if he has a bigger impact on a team than Paolo is, because Paolo is the number one option for the Magic. He carries the weight of that offense. He draws double teams. As much as I like Evan Mobley, he doesn't draw any double teams. So I would have Paolo Banchero ahead of him. I think you and I had this conversation, and you believe that Paolo's going to be an MVP candidate, right?
Absolutely.
Well, you can't be an MVP candidate if you're ranked that far down. So I think we're on the same page. I think Paolo, I would have him actually not just ahead of that group, but a lot further up.
All right, no, fair enough. 14 through 10, they got Kawhi Leonard, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. Pretty much the old man group, and Cade Cunningham.
So isn't that weird? They put the old guard in a certain place. Why? Kawhi is great, but don't we start the Kawhi conversation the same way we start the Jimmy Butler conversation? If you're going to have Jimmy Butler way back at 24, 25, then Kawhi should be right next to them, right? They're kind of in the same boat in terms of their age and their health. I wouldn't have Kawhi Leonard that high. I understand why Durant would be that high, why LeBron would be that high. But you have Kate Cunningham that high up, but you don't have Paolo Banchero that high up. That doesn't make sense to me.
One thing I always find funny about these lists is once again it shows how challenging one name that's not on here is Joel Embiid, and it just shows how challenging he is to rank on these lists at times.
Right, but Brett, isn't that the whole point? Embiid is hard to rank for the same reason we have these conversations about Butler and Kawhi Leonard, right? It's if Joel Embiid is healthy, he's a top 10 player, right? He is. Whether you like his personality or not, if he's healthy, he's a top 10 player. The problem is he's never healthy, and there's nothing he's done in the offseason that tells you he's going to be healthy this season. So as a talent, top 10 in terms of what he actually is or what kind of physical condition he is, because his situation with his knees and his ankles and those are chronic. They're not going away. He'll always have those problems. But if he's healthy, would you not agree he's a top 10 player?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So they omit him completely, but you put Kawhi Leonard, who's perpetually injured, as much as Joel Embiid on there. Like suddenly Kawhi's going to be healthy all year long. We know better. And look, if we're gonna do the betting on health game for what it's worth, I predict Jimmy Butler will play more games than both of them.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Jimmy's just going to play the most games out of both of them, and it's just Kawhi. He's been healthier these past couple of years, but also like I'm not really concerned about healthier because healthier is like maybe he gets to like 60 games. So right. No, and that's about my like one slight problem with this list. Like if you're going to include Jimmy, you're going to include Kawhi, and we're assuming everybody's healthy, then Joel Embiid should be on here.
Exactly. If we're going to do the everybody being healthy game, then if everybody's being healthy game, then of course Joel Embiid should be in your top 25 easily.
Yeah, at 10 through 6, they have 10 is Durant, then followed by Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Steph Curry, Victor Wembanyama. I think Steph is an interesting name. I think that, he's still going to be a top 10 player. It's just, he's so tough because you think at some point he's going to be he's going to regress, but that skill set is just so perfect for longevity inside the top 10.
I don't disagree with what you just said about Steph. I don't. Because his skill set is unique. But here's the crazy part. His skill set, we talk about how unique his skill set is. I agree with that. I don't look at Steph right now today. I'm still not going to tell you that Steph is a better basketball player than LeBron James because he's not, even with that skill set. So if we're going to do the thing where we put the old guard kind of in the same box, then Steph should be where Durant is, and Durant should be where LeBron is. Like we're going to look at KD and go, we can book KD for 26, 7, and 4, something like that. That's great. But is KD a better basketball player than LeBron James? The answer was, even right now, he's not. He's going to score more, but is he a better basketball player? Is he going to impact the game more? He's not. They brought him to Houston because he fills a void for Houston. He and LeBron don't carry the same weight. And I acknowledge how great a player LeBron is, but LeBron's going to do more things than Kevin Durant is going to do with his team. So I don't understand these rankings at all. And I agree how Steph ages well like a fine wine because of his shooting and obviously his secret superpower that's not secret anymore is his movement off ball because of what he does. That being said, is he a better player? Because I thought that's what these rankings were. Well, he's not better than LeBron. He's not. We can't rank them by I guess, career achievements. I'm just judging you off of what you are right now today. I think Steph is definitely, you could say top 10 or top 12, but wherever you rank him, I wouldn't rank him ahead of LeBron.
And you know what? That's absolutely fair enough. You, I, this list, I think it was made like a little bit after the news broke that LeBron might be out till mid-November. So I don't know if that's why he got pushed down a little lower, just outside of the top 10. But or maybe they think this is finally the year that Father Time gets him. But
yeah, and
it didn't get him last year,
right? And that could be the case. All I'm saying is, when you make these type of rankings, tell me that you're thinking of Steph's going to put up numbers, Golden State's going to be relevant, meaning that they're going to be a title contender, and then that would explain why you have him ranked where he's ranked. If you're telling me like, well, LeBron's going to have a really good season, but I don't think the Lakers are title contenders, then fully express that. Because if you bring it into that conversation, into that lane, that's a conversation we can have. I'm a Lakers fan. I'm a diehard Lakers fan. Just look at my background. And I don't think the Lakers are title contenders. So if you're telling me that LeBron's going to have a terrific season, but in the bigger picture, is it going to impact winning more than what Steph is going to do? I'll listen to that conversation.
Now, fair enough. And the top 5, they got Anthony Edwards, Luka, Giannis, Shea, and Nikola Jokic rounding out the top 5, which I think is interesting also because at 6, they have Wemby. So that's a pretty killer top 6 right there.
It's a killer top 6. Here's the thing about Wemby is, and I'm a huge Wemby fan. I think you're a huge Wemby fan. With Wemby, everything is projection, right? Right? Because the assumption is, and again, we always have to preface this with health. If Wemby is healthy throughout the season, the expectations are Victor Wembanyama is going to give you 25 points a game, 12 rebounds, 3 or 4 blocks, 3 or 4 assists, which would absolutely make him an MVP candidate. I don't know if he's going to do that. I definitely don't know if he's going to make it through the season. I hope he does. As an NBA fan, what I want more than anything is I don't want somebody that is as talented and unique as Wemby to be one of those guys that's going to have one of those careers where he's chronically injured. I hope that is not the case, because I think when fully constructed, when you look at their team top to bottom, I think the young Spurs are a playoff team right now. I do. I think the Spurs make the playoffs, obviously provided that they can have a healthy Wemby. I think the Spurs make the playoffs, and I think they're a tough out.
Well, fair enough. I've been so impressed by Wemby this preseason and the little bit we've seen him. It just seems like he's gotten stronger. And that's kind of scary. Like, he's just bumping guys now at times out of the way and getting easy dunks.
No, go ahead.
I'd say one thing I would love to see him improve on, though, is at times he still falls in love with that sidestep 3 or step back at the 3-point line when he has a one-on-one, which I think it might come back down. He's just so big, it's hard to trust that handle in traffic, which, keeps him on the 3-point line at times when it comes to playing against a set defense. But, yeah, it's one of those things where when he actually does get going downhill and he starts bumping guys out of the way, that is terrifying.
I think that when you're 7'4", closer to 7'5", even if you've got a good handle, when you're that tall, you have to realize where the ball is when you're dribbling. I don't care what your handle is. When you're that tall and that long, there's a lot of guys that literally can go under you and swipe at the ball, right? We would agree on that. So I think that what Wemby's got to learn to do is trust his teammates more, give up the ball, and get to his spots, and then catch the ball where he can turn and attack in a different space. I'd rather see him operate more at the top of the key or in the mid post than living 25 feet from the basket. I think I think as long as he stays primarily on the perimeter, he's actually helping the defense out more than hurting them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd love to see this year he's gonna have, De'Aaron Fox setting him up, so hopefully that'll make it easier on him, get him some shots closer to the basket, set him up in good spots. Dylan Harper's looked really good in preseason, also splitting double teams.
He
Got some
has.
playmaking chops. He almost looks like a very young version of Jalen Brunson. That's kind of who he reminds me of.
Yeah, I kind of like that comp. I think he's not as strong, but I think he's a little bit quicker than Jalen Brunson. But yeah, I do like that comparison. Look at that core. Harper's already showing signs that he's ready for this level. And then you've got Castle coming off Rookie of the Year, and you've got Wemby. Like just those three. Then you throw in guys like Vassell, obviously De'Aaron Fox. Like that team to me, if fully healthy, how are they not a top 6 team in the West?
Yeah, no, I think they absolutely are this year. It's just going to be too tough to keep him out. Like, as long as everybody's healthy, that's just going to be too tough of a challenge because even once you get past Castle, Fox, and Wemby, you still have guys like Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, if he can at least play at the level of a rotation player. Like, this is a team that's got some pretty nice depth to it, too. So I'm looking forward to seeing them this year. They're on my league pass list.
Oh, they're gonna be so fun to watch, Brett. They're gonna be so fun to watch. And Wemby's gonna have some of those games where you're gonna lose your mind when he drops 40, 15 with 6 or 7 blocks. Like he can do that. It's funny because I posted something on TikTok not too long ago, and it was about a guy that you and I talk about on N1 all the time when we're giving flowers to some of the older players. But it was about your guy from Utah, Mark Eaton. That Mark Eaton holds the record for most block shots in a season still to this day. I think it's something like 456 blocks. And even though I think Wemby is absolutely made to be the guy to break that, I don't think that record will ever be broken because of how the game is played today. Because the game now is played on the perimeter. There are less guys going to the basket, less shots to block at the rim. I think a great shot blocker in today's NBA, you're probably going to get 250, maybe 280. I don't think anyone's going even remotely anywhere near 300 blocks.
Yeah, and when they play the Spurs, they're going to attempt to get Wemby to switch out of the perimeter and keep that man away from the basket at all times.
I'll guarantee because he covers so much ground. You definitely got to keep him away. But I love that about Wemby. I love that about Chet Holmgren, that while they're both over 7 feet tall, they don't move like that, and that's what makes them impressive. They're big men, but they don't move like big men.
Yeah, no, and that's the challenging part, though, because you can keep him on the perimeter, but he can cover that ground in like 2 steps and still recover in time to erase your shot. So you always have to keep an eye on him.
I've got a question for you. There's a player that I've been watching in the preseason. I watched a lot of him last year, and you could see the potential. And it seems like I don't know if he got in the gym, got in the lab, but it seems like he's gotten the message. I'm talking about the kid from Miami, from the Heat, Khalil Ware. Brett, another guy who's over 7 feet tall and incredibly talented, but if he's what he's looked like in potential, what he could be, he's exactly what Miami needs. I keep telling people that it's not that Hero's not a terrific player. It's not that Bam's not a terrific player. It's just that neither one of them can be your number one option. Like if Ware could take himself and make that leap and establish himself at least as a second option, I think Miami becomes a much better basketball team because he has if you were going to compare him to Wemby, which I'm not saying he's in Wemby's stratosphere, but he has the skill set and the talent to where he could be Wemby light, right? Even if he's Wemby light, you're talking about a guy that can give Miami 16 to 18 points a game, 10 rebounds, and a couple of blocks. That absolutely would make them that much better.
I will say when it comes to Kalel Ware, I remember last year before the season started, he was somebody I mentioned to be a dark horse rookie of the year candidate if he gets enough playing time, which it was an interesting year for him, but he's been somebody I've always been very high on because I think that he could really be a key cog in finally utilizing Bam Adebayo properly. Because I like Bam, but I just don't think he's a natural center. I think he's a better suited at the 4. So I love Ware, and I think I'm very high on him. He's got that floor spacing potential, but he can also protect the rim. So he's athletic, so he can also do some rim running as well. So I love Kalel Ware, and I think he really has the potential to make this Miami Heat lineup make more sense. Put Bam at the 4, Ware at the 5, and all of a sudden this lineup just looks a lot better. So.
Oh my God, what a combo that is! Though, if Ware's going to make a leap in his development, the 4-5 combo of him and Bam, that can make Miami one of the better defensive teams.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I'm still a Bam believer. I think he's very talented, but as switchable as he is, I think there's something to be desired when it comes to protecting the rim with Bam, because you can easily just switch him away from the rim, but also he's just shorter than a lot of these 7-footers and smaller. So I think if you get Ware in there to help with the rim protection, then that'll absolutely elevate this Miami defense. So I'm hoping they start him just straight up and move Bam one spot down.
Yeah, like I said, I think that 4-5 combo would be effective on both ends of the floor for them. Look, the sky's the limit, really depending on Ware's development and the leap he's going to take, whether it's a huge leap or a little bit of a leap. It's going to greatly impact Miami on both ends of the floor. Let me ask you this question, one more about Miami. We both know that Tyler Hero is their number one option offensively. Is Tyler Hero, in your opinion, can he be the best player on a title contender?
I don't think so. He can be. Let me put it this: I think he can be like the number 2 or 3 option on a title contender, and because I don't want to downplay how good he is offensively. He's a very good offensive player, and he's actually been making strides for a couple of years now. Really impressed by him. That being said, do I think that he can be the best player, even best offensive player in a title contender? No. But if you told me that he could be, maybe the second best offensive player on a title contender and played off somebody else, sure, because I've seen him do that a couple of times. I've seen him do that before. So, I'm a fan of Hero, but the answer to that is no, and that's okay.
No, I look, we're on the same page. I love how Tyler Hero has gotten better each year. But I'm with you. I don't think Tyler Hero can be your number one option. He can be your best player. I think that he would be a very good number 2 and an incredible number 3. And I'm not downplaying his development. I'm just simply saying that sometimes because of the players surrounding you, by default, you're miscast as the number one option, right? I'm not saying he shouldn't be the number one option on Miami right now today because he is their best offensive option. I'm simply saying that if you're a Heat fan and you're being objective and Tyler Hero is your best offensive player, realistically, how far do you think you would go? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Miami could be really good, but really, there's really good, which makes you a playoff contender, and then there's elite, which makes you a title contender. Tyler Hero as your number one option does not make you a title contender.
Yeah, no, as they're set right now, I think they finished like 3rd in their division. Kyle just kind of alluded to it in the comments, but it's actually a sneakily like tough division to win, right? Because you have the Orlando Magic, who I think will obviously be the 1 seed.
Right.
But even the Atlanta Hawks, if Jalen Johnson's healthy, I think that's going to also be a very good basketball team again this year.
Atlanta's going to be sneaky.
So
yeah,
it's one of those things where I think they could be a play-in team, but I don't think they're like a lock to make the playoffs. I think that might be a little bit of too steep of expectations for them this year.
I think they're a play-in team too. Even if Ware makes that leap, and I hope he does, just look at the surrounding talent. I'm talking about perimeter players and surrounding talent. They have good players. What they don't have is they don't have a lot of special players, and that's the problem. Like I'm a big Bam fan. We can't just look at that he's a terrific defender, especially a team defender. But what about offensively? Like they don't have a lot of shot creation in Miami. They really don't, and that's their struggle. And I think that's going to hold them back.
And that's and to me that's exactly what's going to hold them back. They just don't have enough pop outside of Tyler Hero. I think he's going to once again be a great offensive piece this year. But that being said, if your number 2 option is Bam, you just don't have a number 2 option because that's not the role that he's suited for. And I think that's been made abundantly clear on these last couple of playoff runs. So let's say he's a great defensive talent, but offensive talent, you want him as like maybe your 3rd or 4th option. The further down the pecking order for Bam offensively, the absolute better it is for your team.
100% agreed. If Bam Adebayo is your 4th offensive option, you're probably a hell of a basketball team.
No, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, I'm glad you mentioned the Magic. They're going to be a lot of fun this year. Although I'm going to be so mad if Desmond Bane just forgets how to shoot like every single person who comes to Orlando.
I hope that's not the case.
It's such a weird conundrum. You had Contavious Caldwell-Pope be a great shooter before he came to Orlando, and he forgets how to shoot. And it's just a conundrum with them. It's just as soon as you step into Orlando, that's like -5 percentage points to your 3-point percentage. So I think he'll be fine, especially since the thing with Desmond Bane is he's like a 3-level scorer, and he's not limited to the 3-point line, so you can keep defenses off balance. But yeah, I think that's got to be a big point of emphasis for Orlando. Just hit your shots. You're going to get a ton of wide open looks playing off of not only just Paulo but Franz, and Bane. So as long as these rotation players can knock down their jumpers, sky is the limit for the Orlando Magic.
Isn't that the key? If their rotation players can take advantage of the gravity that Paolo's going to draw you into, that Bane can draw you into, because like Bane doesn't have a super tight handle, but he has a tight enough handle that he can attack the hard closeout, right? And if you look at how he's built, like he's built like an NFL safety. Like he's physically strong when he drives to the basket. He's added a floater to his game. I think we forget that people look at Franz and they think shooter. Franz is a scorer. He's not really a natural shooter. He's a scorer. And Franz takes the basketball to the rim. Like he actually attacks the basket more than Paolo does. Paolo is absolutely their best player. And I think that if he does what you said and he elevates himself to be an MVP candidate, I think that rubs off on everybody. If he's gonna make that kind of leap, that rubs off on everybody. That will make Paolo better. Not Paolo, but that'll make Franz better. It'll make life easier for Desmond Bane and the other role players. Orlando, to me, is a scary team when they're working on all cylinders. And if they can stay healthy, which is all we should just say, if this person can stay healthy or that person can stay healthy, but if Orlando can stay whole, I think they're definitely going to win their division and they're going to be one of the top 3 seeds in the East.
Yeah, I think to me the biggest key for that, and I'm very confident that he'll come back perfectly fine, but I'm curious to see how Jalen Suggs is after the knee injury.
Yeah.
Hey, what's good, Sajin? He was absolutely locked down before. In fact, he was so good he was in the argument for maybe best guard defender in the NBA. If he can come back and play at that level again or even close to it, yeah, look out. This is going to be an absolutely terrifying basketball team, especially in a wide open East. Hey,
Yeah.
maybe it's going to be the Orlando Magic going to the finals this year.
I in the Eastern Conference, I put everything on the table. So yeah, I don't rule out. I look at Detroit. I look at Orlando. I don't rule out what the Knicks can do. I know the Knicks are favorites, and I know the Cavs are going to be favorite. I'm looking at the younger teams. I'm looking at one of those younger teams to really make a deep run. I'm looking at Orlando. I'm looking at the fact that Detroit's going to have Jaden Ivey back, giving Cade that sidekick offensively that he needs. If Jalen Duren can be more impactful defensively as a rim protector, Detroit is poised to go to another level. But they're still a young team. Their core is still young, so it'll be interesting.
No, absolutely. Hey, you know what? I'll give a shout out to yesterday, by the way. The Hornets looked really good. Now let's hope that translates into the regular season. My thing with the Hornets, the leap I hope that they take, really it comes down to LaMelo Ball, and the leap that I hope that LaMelo takes this year is please just be more efficient. I know you have it in you to take smarter shots and be more efficient. Like let's cut out like the one-legged threes and just some of the mind-boggling shots that he'll take at the most random point in the games. Like he takes shots that should be saved for like heat check or desperation. Got to get the shot off at the end of the shot clock. He'll take those shots, and you look at like, oh, there's 19 seconds on the shot clock. All right, we're just BSing now. So I really hope that this year is the year that his shot IQ like develops some more, and he cuts out some of those really bad like threes that he takes.
He takes a lot of shots, Brett, that look like he's playing horse. The one-legged three throws me off every time I see it. And I know he's made it a few times. It's just something about it. The vibe is off. He's such an incredible talent, great court vision. I need him to, I'm with you, be more efficient, but look to play make more and then score second. Because he can always score. The guy's a natural scorer. But I think that if he gets the other guys involved more, he can always pick up the pace in the third or fourth quarter as a scorer.
It's saying this year he shouldn't really have that high of an offensive load, right? Like, okay, he's always going to take a lot of shots, but that being said, I think if you have the emergence of Brandon Miller, if he's as good as people think he is, which spoiler alert, he very well could be. Say I do like Brandon Miller and think he could end up being like an all-star, maybe even a fringe all NBA player. He's very good.
Talented.
You have Bridges, Knuppel. You have some lob threats and Kalkenbrenner and Diabate. Like you have weapons, and if he just would cut out like those bad shots and instead, spray it out and feed his teammates a little bit more, this Hornets team could be sneaky good. Sneaky good as in like maybe they can battle for a play-in berth. Good. I think that could happen, but I think it all just kind of starts with LaMelo.
I agree. Look, I hope you're right. I hope they have the kind of season where they're right there in the thick of things, fighting for a play-in berth. It's not just good for their fan base. It's good for NBA fans in general that you see some of these younger teams, some of these franchises that haven't had a lot of success, experience success. That's why I think a couple of years ago, when Mike Brown got the Kings into the playoffs, De'Aaron Fox had that monstrous season. I was excited as a basketball fan because that's fun to watch that happen. But just as soon as it happened, they didn't follow up on the momentum they had built, and they kind of fell back into old habits. And before you know it, they were just the Kings again. And I would like to see a young team develop its core, build out its roster, and be competitive. And I know as a talent, LaMelo can be your guy. It's just a matter of him growing into that leadership role.
Hey, look, we got a young team in the Kings, right? They got young blue chip prospects like Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach
Oh
LaVine.
my God.
They signed Russ, and I'm like, this is just, I don't know how else to say it. This is just the most hilarious team. Like, because what's the end game with Sacramento? Like, are you going for like a play-in berth, or because they put themselves into this awkward position where they probably have too much talent to like tank, where they're gonna win like 38, 40 games maybe, but at the same time that's not good enough in the West to really do anything except maybe sneak into the play-in. It just feels like they put themselves into purgatory, like willingly. And that's the part that's mind-blowing to me.
That's so Sacramento, right? That's what they do. That's so Sacramento. They're going to be too good. They're going to be just good enough that they don't make the playoffs, but not bad enough that they get a high draft pick. Because what they desperately need, they need a franchise player. They need a young guy that they can draft and bring in, and he can be the player you build around. Because their current roster, I'm actually a DeMar DeRozan fan, but I know what he is and I know his limitations, especially now. DeMar's, I think he's 34, 35. Zach LaVine as a talent, I've said this for years, as a talent, he's a top 10 talent. But in terms of what he does with his talent, he is empty calories all day, every day. And then you bring in Russ, who I always want to remind people, Russell Westbrook had a prime. And when he was in his prime, he was a special player, but he hasn't been in his prime, 6 years, 7 years? It's been a minute. And I thought that he was solid for the Nuggets last year throughout the regular season. I thought he had moments in the playoffs, good and bad, but that's kind of where Russ is in his career, right, Brett, where there are going to be nights where you're like, man, this guy is playing at a high level and he's got this energy and look at the assist. And then there's going to be other nights where he goes 2 for 10 or he goes 1 for 17. Like, that's who he is. And you bring that to Sacramento, and I'm like, I get it. We never question Russ's effort or the energy, but the results aren't always pretty. And let's be honest, if you're DeMar DeRozan and you're Zach LaVine, you can tell me how excited you are to have Russ. And there might even be a honeymoon period. But at some point, Russ is going to do something where both of them look at each other and go, my God, oh my God, get me out of here. I don't want to disparage Russell Westbrook. I always tell people the man's going to walk right into the Hall of Fame. But he had a Hall of Fame career before he went to Washington. He had a Hall of Fame career, and he's been through a lot of places since then. You could look at him and look at the same way that Dwight Howard was, where just on his career in Orlando, Dwight was a Hall of Famer. And outside of what he did with the Lakers that one year, Dwight was a lot of places, and he wasn't very good in a lot of places. I'm rooting for Russell Westbrook to have a really good season, excite the Sacramento fan base, maybe even find a way to sneak into the play-in and get into the playoffs. That would be great. I want that for him, but I'm not betting on that.
So I think the only reason why Kings signed Russ is because they couldn't get Kuminga. So I feel like once you don't get Kuminga, you probably just try to pivot towards younger talent, right? Like, it feels like the smart thing to do is, if anything, okay, well, you should probably see what you can get for DeRozan at this point anyway, but I think you at that point, you try to move DeRozan, you move off some of these vets and just get younger. Like, going out and getting Russ and Dennis Schroeder is just, it's counterintuitive because, like I said, they're not putting you any closer to. I'm not even going to put championship out there. They're not even closer to getting you into the second round of the playoffs, even the first round of the playoffs,
or the playoffs at all.
Like, you may have just got yourself the last spot in the play-in, but that's not even a guarantee. So I'm just looking at these moves like, what's the point? And also, they extend Keegan Murray at $28 million a year, 5 years, $140 million.
I don't get that.
And that was another head scratcher to me. When it comes to Keegan Murray, I think he's talented. But that being said, he spent the last 3 years seemingly regressing. He's had a below average, I believe, a true shooting percentage each year. And he's, battled some injuries. And we could say some of that is due to role inconsistency. Like, his role just keeps changing, it seems. And while I do acknowledge that, he's gotten better as like a backline rim protector and a rebounder, his three-point shot has fallen off a cliff. And it just felt like this was the Kings betting against themselves, because I'm just looking at it like, was anybody really dying to give Keegan Murray $28 million a year? Like, I have no doubt that somebody else would have paid him, but I just don't see the team that's looking at, especially how these last 3 years have played out for him. And I'm not seeing the team that's going to go, yep, $30 million a year, Keegan Murray.
And I know chat, it sounds like Brett is killing Keegan Murray. He's not killing him. I think everybody, Brett, you, me, everybody in the chat, I think we all agree Keegan Murray is a good player. You don't pay a good player $140 million. He's a good player. He's never going to be a superstar. He's never going to be an all-star. He's a good player. How about this? We'll do the thing that we do when we look at players in the bigger picture. If the Kings were title contenders and Keegan Murray's on your roster, he's probably your fourth option if you were title contenders. They're not title contenders. And I felt like giving him that type of money was one of those things where the management got together, Brett, and they were like, whatever we do, we can't lose Keegan Murray. Maybe I'm missing the point here. They didn't get Kuminga. I get that. But maybe you could have traded Keegan Murray for Kuminga. Like, I know Kuminga has holes in his game. I think Kuminga's better than Keegan Murray. I think Kuminga is more impactful than Keegan Murray.
It's one of those things too, like, even with the amount that the money and the cap and everything has risen, yeah, like I said, this one was still a head scratcher. Like I said, I think he can still be a very good player going forward. Like a quality, rotational piece, maybe.
No doubt.
But the problem is when his shooting is already seemingly regressing in, years, like he's already 25. We're starting to get up to the years where he should be entering his prime. But he's been seemingly regressing the past couple of years. It's just not a good sign. Like I said, I'm praying for his bounce back, but I wouldn't bet any money on him living up to this contract.
Maybe Sacramento just isn't the place for young players to go. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a cultural thing. They don't have a great culture there. They're not known for developing young talent. They really aren't. I just don't know what they're doing as a franchise. What is that? Zach LaVine, 29, 30 years old. DeRozan's 35. They're not part of your future. Dennis Schroeder, he's got to be in his 30s. He's not part of your future. And I would understand putting this team together if you told me, like, we just put together a roster where we're going to make a deep playoff run. I look at that roster and I go, you just put together a roster and you're going to make a deep play-in run. Maybe.
Well, they'll at least play 82 regular season games. I can guarantee you that, but that's about it. I did see that in the first comment, though, Damian. Don't even worry about it. He says, I don't see the Knicks as a real, true contending team, not with Dolan still around there as an owner. Yeah, and especially with Mike Brown as a head coach, in my opinion. He's a downgrade from Tibbs. So it's what I feel like when it comes to the Tibbs and Mike Brown conversation, you give up some defense with Mike Brown, but what you get in return is a better motion offense. Like there's more movement in a Mike Brown offense, and I think that's what they're banking on. It's not going to be as Jalen, Brunson ISO heavy as last year. I think they're pretty much banking on getting everybody involved this year and trying to generate offense that way. So I will say I do understand the vision with Mike Brown, but I do agree to an extent. I'm not sure how much of an upgrade he's going to be from Tibbs.
I think Mike Brown's a good basketball coach. Having said that, Tom Thibodeau was a good basketball coach. I think they're literally opposite sides of the same coin. Tibbs was rigid and gruff. Mike Brown is more affable and more of a player's coach. But I don't think he's an upgrade. I just think that he's a different, a nicer guy, if you will. But I don't think he's going to elevate the Knicks. I think you're right. His system is more player friendly because it's more inclusive. So Bridges and OG are going to be more involved in the offense. They're going to get the ball to Towns and try to let Towns facilitate from the high post. I don't think that's a bad thing. But if we're talking about them being a title contending team, I feel like the Knicks went on a great run last year. I didn't look at the Knicks and view them as a team that was going to go to the finals. I will say this though. They did something that they desperately needed to do. They built out their bench. They went out, they added some talent to their bench, including a guy like Jordan Clarkson, who's an incredible streaky scorer. So they needed that. They got that. If Bridges and OG can be more involved in the offense, if their games can go up to where they're both averaging, let's say 18 or 19 a game, and they're not relying so much on Brunson, I give them a chance. I do. I give them a legitimate chance to come out of the East, but I don't think it's a lock. I really don't, because you brought up the Mike Brown teams are going to be very good offensively. I don't know how they're going to be defensively because they're not known to be great defensive teams.
Yeah, the Kyle adds, I don't think Brunson can be your best player and win a title. Say that remains to be seen. Like I said, I'll give Brunson credit. He last year, if you asked me before the playoffs started, I would have said, yeah, absolutely not. But now, after watching him last year and the year before that, it kind of moved me to probably not. So I will give him credit. Brunson did move me in last year's playoff run. I think he can definitely be the best offensive player on a title team. But being the best overall player, well, I guess it remains to be seen.
I like the way you frame that. That's good. That's a great point. He can be your best offensive player, but maybe not your best player. I like that. I'm in agreement with that.
It's just so hard to be the best player on a title team when you're an undersized guard. Like, that's happened twice that we can really remember it. Obviously, we remember Steph and Zeke. You can say that maybe Chauncey Billups was a little smaller.
Those are the three guys that come to mind. I was gonna throw in one other guy, but he wasn't really he was a big part of the success, but he was more of a complimentary star, and that was Tony Parker.
He has a Finals MVP, but again,
right.
You can obviously say that the best player on those teams was Timmy. So
100%.
It's just hard for smaller guards to be the best player on title teams. I think Brunson is talented enough that if everything breaks right, he might be able to pull it off. But again, that just remains to be seen. I don't think he can be the best player on a title team, but I think he can at least be the best offensive player on a title team.
I would agree with that, which is why I think it's so important that Towns steps his game up, that he plays at an all NBA level. Like he's either a second team all NBA caliber player. Like I think he needs to get better. I think you need more from Bridges. That's so important that Bridges and OG are more productive offensively to offset the fact that everything before was so Brunson centric. I love Brunson as a player. I just feel like he gets a little worn down because in Tibbs' system it's get the ball to Brunson and get out the way too often. So I at least with Mike Brown, what he's proposing is to keep everybody else involved and then maybe go to Brunson if it's a tight game late fourth quarter.
And then with it's funny with the Knicks, Brunson is not the guy I'm really more worried about per se though than the other guy you just mentioned, Karl Anthony Towns. I know what he is. He's the greatest shooting center of all time. I think he's already cemented himself in as that and in those conversations. But as much as we talk about his shooting, we never talk about his defense, and that's going to be the problem once again. I don't know if Brunson. I think if Brunson can win the title as the team's best player, I'm not sure if Cat is his right running mate. And it's nothing to do with them on offense, because on offense, those two are great together. It's just watching those two consistently get hunted defensively when the game's on the line that I'm concerned about. We saw it last year. Teams had great success doing it, and while their offense was able to overcome it the first two rounds, they went against the Pacers, and they continuously hunted that Brunson Cat pick and roll, and they just obliterated them. So that's going to be my biggest concern in all reality. Can Brunson do it with Cat? I don't think so. Unless if Cat all of a sudden becomes a better rim protector. If he becomes better in the pick and roll and shows improvements there this year, then the Knicks could very well win a finals. But if that doesn't happen, I think that's really what's going to limit their ceiling. It's the fact that in clutch games, you might not be able to play your two highest paid players at the same time.
No, I agree. I as you were saying it and laying it out, I was sitting there thinking like maybe that's it. It's not that Brunson can't be the guy. It's that Cat is probably not the perfect. They work well together, but I don't know if they're the perfect running mates because they're both a detriment defensively. Cat has bad feet. He just has bad feet in terms of like how he moves his feet, and he doesn't have the lateral quickness in space to stay in front of people. And look, defense is about effort too. He doesn't necessarily have a high motor on that end of the floor. Look, the Knicks are poised to be one of the powers in the East, but I don't know. I mean, you really brought up a head scratcher. I don't know if that combo with those two being your two best players, I don't know if you can win a title with them being your two. But I'm not saying Brunson. I'm just saying the combination of the two of them. I don't think you can win a title.
No, fair enough. And Mo, before we end up wrapping things up here shortly, I wanted to run this one by you too. Another list that was made. Bleach Report's top 25 male wrestlers since the turn of the century. So this is 2000 forward. Very important thing to add in, because I'll read them off 5 at a time like I did the one before. And there's going to be a name there that people are going to freak out about. But like I said, it's 2000 onwards. Very important to remember that. So the first 5 they have, 25 through 20, are Kofi Kingston, Booker T, Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, Cody Rhodes, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah. I don't know that, because like you said, it's from 2000 on, right?
Yeah.
I obviously Kofi did so much. I mean, it's funny, like what he did. It wasn't that long ago. It feels like, but I don't mind the list so bad. Although I wonder why Ambrose is where he is. Like I don't know. I don't know if Dean Ambrose had that much of an impact as an individual performer in the WWE.
Let's say Cody. Say Cody being at 21. Honestly, I thought he'd be higher, but I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Stone Cold." I was like, Stone Cold at 20 makes sense after 2000 because all of his prime years happened in the 1990s. So of course we after that they have AJ Styles, Batista. This is the head scratcher to me. 17, Shawn Michaels. Then we got Jeff Hardy and Eddie Guerrero. Shawn at 17 is wild because he had a fantastic run after 2000.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that's the one that blew my mind the most. I just think that's really low for Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, and then 15 through 10, they got Eddie Guerrero, CM Punk, Triple H, Brock Lesnar, Edge, Daniel Bryan.
I'm okay with that one. I am. Daniel Bryan has had such an underrated career. He had an amazing run, not just in WWE, but in AEW as well. So I'm fine with that.
No, absolutely. Say at 9 through 5, they got The Rock, Seth Rollins, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker, Chris Jericho.
Yeah, look, come on, man. Chris Jericho has had an amazing career everywhere he's been. I'm good with that.
Alrighty, and then their top 4 is Rey Mysterio, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, John Cena is the greatest in that time period.
And to their credit, they didn't get everything right, but you got number 1 right. That should have been the easiest one for me. If you didn't have Cena 1, what's your problem?
Say we there we go. He can do the Becky Lynch promo next time he shows up. I'm the greatest of all time, and it's not just me saying it.
Right.
Oh man, yeah. Say I thought that was an interesting list, but yeah, like I said, the one that threw me off the most, I was like, wait, Shawn at 17 is absurd.
It's wild.
Seth shouldn't be in the top 10 in my opinion because he can never stay healthy. While he has had his bad injury luck, I will say he's done enough in the time he's been healthy for sure to be in the top 10 with his, multiple cash-ins and title reigns. I think he's definitely done enough to be in that conversation.
I agree.
But yeah, that being said, that is all we got for you guys today. Like I said, you can catch Mo and I later on the N1 podcast. Anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
Nope. Just appreciate the chat, appreciate the energy, and we'll see you guys tonight on N1.
Absolutely. I said, can't wait to see you guys there. That being said, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night.